This is your Monster Academy Campus TV, live from the Monster Studios with the latest news and your favorite gossip. And here is your most scaring monster, Roddy Rube.
Hi, this is Roddy Rube again, and today's with me my good friend Peter Scott from England. Hi Peter.
Hi Roddy.
How are you doing?
I'm doing good.
I heard your today's presentation and you were talking about the importance of reflection and assessment when we talk about learning. What do you mean by that?
What I mean is that the most important thing you can do as a learner is not just passively consume things. You have to engage with it. It's what's the difference between information and knowledge. Information is what you see, what flows into you. Knowledge is what you've reflected upon and processed. So the job of an educator is to get someone who wants to learn about something to do that extra step, the little iteration over information that turns it into knowledge. We call it reflection.
Yeah. How do you think a good reflection should look like?
Okay, one of the most exciting things about working online is that pretty much everything you do is recordable and trackable. It can be turned into a bunch of metrics and measures. Therefore, you can genuinely see what your performance looks like. You can see pictures of yourself and what it is you've done. You can see pictures of what others are doing with you. And if you use those pictures, visualizations, diagrams, illustrations, logs of your activity in a clever way, for example, in a good portfolio, then that becomes data, that becomes more data that you can then reflect upon. So what does performance look like? It looks like a bunch of pictures of things you have been doing, engaging with information to turn it into knowledge. Our job as educators is to make those pictures rich and informative.
So that's why it also mirrors reflect, because you look at yourself more or less. Is it what you mean?
Absolutely, but of course what you never quite see is yourself. You see something a little different, even in a mirror.
That's what we call the meta level, is it?
Exactly. There's always a little bit more than simply seeing something. Any reflection is a little bit different, and that's where the reflection comes. What's the difference?
And that's where the actual learning is taking place, or at the reflection and what you did, is it?
Absolutely. So if you simply, a primitive model of learning would be that learners are buckets and you fill them with information. When they're filled, they've learned, they've reached threshold, they have the competence. That's very primitive. You're not a bucket. There's an awful lot of sloshing around of that water. So your reflection on all of the information that you receive is what makes knowledge.
Yeah, very good. And the second important point is assessment. I mean, assessment is quite crucial in our time to know what you can do, but how do you do assessment in a positive way?
So assessment is probably one of the biggest challenges we have today. I'd say probably is the number one thing. If you get it right, you have cracked the most serious challenge we face. What you need to know when you're a learner is whether you're on the right track, whether you're heading in the right direction, whether the thing you've done is a good reflection of the process of changing information into knowledge. Assessment is one way to do that. You reflect best in communication with others. When you've done that reflection, you have to reflect into an artifact, which is usually an assessment, to be able to understand whether you understand something. So, in a sense, assessment is just another form of reflection, where someone can tell you that your reflection on what you've learned is on the right path to the competence you're trying to achieve.
Yeah, path is a good word, because we heard today in our presentation that there are two types of assessment, the assessment of learning and the assessment for learning. And we pedagogists and social media experts, as we all are, we're looking into the future, isn't it?
Yeah, no, that's absolutely right. Actually, the best thing you can be as a learner is a learner. That's to say, you have to learn how to learn, and it's one of the things we spend the least time on. We tend to try and teach you specific things in your field, you know, about the density of rocks if you're into minerals, about what carbon dioxide does if you're into understanding the environment. But actually, understanding how to be a good learner is an important set of skills which you never lose. You have to keep constantly reflecting upon your own performance and learning how to learn. Terribly.
Yeah, we got a long way to do, and so thank you very much, Peter, for this very inspiring thoughts, and say goodbye to our e-portfolio experts down there.
Cheerio.
Sire.